Welcome to the Arcane Mystic, your weekly sanctuary for health, well-being and spiritual exploration. Whether you're delving into the healing power of frequency medicines, uncovering hidden wisdom, or seeking a deeper connection on your journey back to self, this podcast is a guide to the mystical side of life. Join us each week as we explore ancient practices, modern techniques, and timeless truths that help you unlock your true potential. We bring together a community of like-minded souls who are passionate about spiritual growth and personal transformation. This podcast is about the soul's journey and the wisdom that lies within. So if you're ready to elevate your mind, body and spirit, subscribe to the Arcane Mystic today. Let's awaken the inner mystic and embark on a journey of discovery together. Remember, the journey to self is the most powerful journey of all. Welcome to this broadcast of the Arcane Mystic. And today we have the wonderful Marja. And Marja is absolutely amazing with the work that she does. She's been in this game a very long time, an absolute renegade for any of you that know of her, and those that don't, welcome to Marja. And what Marja works with is, from her website, adept weaving laugh out loud humor, whilst candidly addressing the challenges of our current times regarding the truth about humanity's enslavement in the matrix perception managed reality. Marja advocates waking up and reclaiming our focus and attention from all distractions to exit the matrix and re-enter the true quantum field creation field universe. Only outside of the matrix can humanity evolve from victim to victorious to create formless into form. So today, welcome, Marja. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you, Elona, for having me. I'm so happy to be here. And so I've been at this work since I was a very, very small child. I knew very, very early on, probably before I even started walking, that there was something majorly off about reality. I was born to a mother who absolutely hated me, despised me, would tell me the most hateful things and blame me for everything. So I had to somehow pick apart the good things amidst this sort of hellhole war zone. And one of the powerful things that I did was actually pretend that I was a fairy. And not, yes, so I was a pretty fairy, and if you pissed me off, I was an evil fairy and I was going to fuck your world up. So I learned that very, very early on. But what started happening was an opening to through the veils of perception, really. And it became very clear to me that what was outside and limited to our just five senses wasn't all of it. That our sixth sense of intuition, and I call our seventh sense, our ability to gift and give and our ability to receive. So it is the sort of the electric and magnetic portion of who we are as humans in a body. And this is the masculine and feminine within a body. And and so here we are in this divide and conquer matrix of wokeness, where the genders are divided into at least 92, my last count.
It's 157, because you have to take sofas and washing machines into account now,
Holy shit. Okay. So you can see where that goes. And so so very, very early on, and this was in the very early 60s, it was very clear there are powers that want to be, that are wanting to infiltrate reality in such a way that they're mesmerizing, brainwashing people into being spectators only, when we are not just spectators, we're actually transmitters and creators. Okay, we're all here to create formless into form in our own special way, whether it's in a big way or a very small, minute way, doesn't matter. Okay. Because not all of us want to be out in the public domain, right? So learning that and seeing that early on, I was just impervious to any kind of effery. So some of my earliest memories include my family watching television, becoming mesmerized to the point where you're like, anybody home?
Get them.
Nobody's home. So I would go around and unplug the television, because people are
You were
getting
that child.
I was that child. I was your worst nightmare because I just wouldn't cooperate. I
Mhm.
wouldn't cooperate. I would refuse to comply with the status quo. So I was always making trouble. Um, but for me, it wasn't so much trouble. It was really me, I feel, fighting for the right to be sovereign and the right to be able to waltz in and out of the many, many veils of reality and perception, because we are in a perception managed matrix. So as I got older, I realized, I can't be in this hellhole of a home. And I left my family's home when I was 14 years old. And I was fortunate to be invited by a girlfriend's mother who had seen and witnessed for herself the craziness of the sort of psychopathic nature of my mother, and invited me to come live with her. And if it wasn't for her, I'm not quite sure what would happen, because this woman and this family that took me in really ignited like the Shan. So they were Japanese and they were also Irish. And so Kathy's mother, who was Japanese, she embodied a lot of sort of ancient wisdoms. And the father, even though he was a little bit of an alcoholic, also believed in the fairy world, believed in the unseen realms, quote unquote, and really encouraged a lot of my discoveries. And so we'd sit at the dinner table and they would literally engage me about what I was seeing. And I felt very validated in that respect. And
That's what a lot of kids don't have now. They don't
yes, no,
have
they don't have
validation.
that.
The TV's been replaced with the iPads and the phones.
Yes, yes,
If the kids are not on the iPads and the phones, then the parents are doing something. There's no real presence that sits right now with that.
yes,
And the other thing as well that you said that was fascinating was where you said that you knew that something was wrong. And I felt that when I was younger. I couldn't tell you
yes,
what it was, but
yes,
it was just an innate knowing. And we're at a point now where, and the other thing as well, 60s, I know a lot of people that are awake from then, but they really struggled. So you've
hmm
ended up becoming something really wonderful to help others on their journey. And the other
yes,
thing that I've noticed with some of these people, they ended up turning to drugs because they had no one to hear them.
yes,
And I'm talking about the really not
indeed,
nice drugs. They were awake in a system where everybody else was sleeping
yes,
in the 60s, and it was really hard. And it feels
yes,
really that you guys back then of that generation are the renegades for now. Because I remember waking up and it's a process of waking up. It's not something
hmm
that just
It's
happens.
not a one-off.
No, you've got to break the systems down. And the
Yes,
first book that I read was Economic Confessions of an Economic Hitman, where you looked at the structure of and how the world's money based is created in countries.
yes,
And then the other one that read was Transformation America by Kathy O'Brien.
yes,
And that book, I think that was the one that hit me in the gut.
yes.
And I remember, and I'm not even ashamed to say this, that when I read that 20 years ago, I went outside and I got on that earth and I cried. And I cried and I cried.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
thought, I've read this and now what do I do with it? I've got two beautiful
Yes.
children then,
Yeah.
and I'm a small fish in a big pond of nonsense.
Mhm.
Yeah, what can I
Yeah.
do?
I
And
I
now,
totally relate to that.
now people, they're all befuddled now by the whole Diddy thing.
Yeah.
And I've got
They
pride,
deny that it's real.
but a
They
lot
don't
of
want to
them
believe it.
are
But
terrified.
And I don't know if you know this, but Annika Lucas, who she wrote a book,
Yeah.
and she was just recently interviewed, and this book came out a couple of years ago. She is a trauma-based mind control sex slave
Yeah.
survivor of the elites back in the 70s. So she's not that much younger than I am. So she's over 60, I would say. And she's coming out with this. And the way people are like bombastically coming after her as being a shill, as making it all up, and just categorizing her in such a way to make her seem completely insane. That's the kind of stuff that I find so, so disheartening because uh, when here we are in this perception managed reality, and those of us that are doing podcasts, we are, in fact, the new media because the trauma-based mind control and the spell casting of mainstream media. People don't realize that mainstream media throughout the entire world is controlled by a handful of transnational corporations that are having their content dictated by the elite families. I call them the powers that want to be, uh, because that is what they do, and they're not even human. I mean, this is the thing that I think people forget. These are not our politicians are really nobodies. They're just really the sort of
Puppets.
puppets of the puppet masters. And it is meant to divide us and to get us to fight each
They
other.
want us to hate each other.
They
And
really
going
do.
back to Annika Luka, for those of you that are discrediting her work, and I've not seen anything personally, so I can't,
Mhm, mhm.
credit
Yeah.
anything, but I will take your word for it. Read Bryce Taylor. There's a Bryce Taylor book, and read Transformation America. And
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sure on some level or on some
Yes.
way, this will back
Yes.
this up. And
And it's
that's,
very disturbing.
yeah, it's
They
really,
tap you.
honestly, I have never cried so much. And it was at that point
Yes. Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
contains the whole industries, the music industry, the
Indeed.
TV, the media, it contains
Indeed.
all of it within that. And it's an eye opener, but it
Yeah.
shows you the level of spiritual detritus that is on this plane at
Yes.
the moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's on a microcosmic level,
Hmm.
the mind control on the macrocosmic level,
Yes.
global element of it. And you
Yeah.
spoke about the TV and being stuck and parents just sitting there mesmerized.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're born into that. And we are collectively creating a system of perpetuity
Indeed.
that we don't need to have.
Indeed.
Okay. Their kids are born, the iPad's given, so they do the same to their kids and
Yeah.
they do the
Yeah.
same.
It's
Do
a
you see what I
droning,
mean?
dumbing
Yeah,
down
it
of
is.
our divinity.
Yeah.
And people can't see it. The babysitter, one of the things I think I was very lucky to have, I didn't think so at the time. I was pissed. I dated a man for uh, a few months at the most, and I liked him. He had two children, one on the way, and his wife was a heroin addict, and these were well-to-do San Francisco people that had gone the other way, the druggy way. So here I was, I became the babysitter, and I ended up adopting his kids or being their caretaker with his parents. But he went off to India, came back after a year, and Jacob was now Johari. He had joined the Hare Krishna. I have nothing against the Hare Krishna. But when he told me after I picked him up at the airport that I don't think I'm meant to be a father and I'm not ready to see my children, I stomped on my brakes in my Volkswagen and I said, get the fuck out of my car. Fuck off. Really? You're going to abandon your children. And it brought this rage out in me because I had been so shunned and so neglected and so, that sort of abusive, let's have children and put them on a shelf like they're an accessory or some kind of little toy that you can like put away and ignore. And I ended up, with his kids and as a 21-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, being in that position of caretaking small children. And it's like I took that torch and I'm just not on my watch. I am not going to watch these kids go through the shit stem of neglectful parents getting into social services. No way, no way. So taking up that torch and what children teach you, and I got to see it because in many ways I was still a child, was these creative sparks
Yeah.
of brilliance that need to be, they need to be held. They need to be held. They need to be cultivated. They need to be nurtured, nourished. They need to be advocated for. And I think that was a key because I got to grow up with them and to put on, I faked adulting, I faked it, and being a little bit on the spectrum, I faked it by pretending I was competent. And I would read these sort of magic books, and I was into the tarot and runes, and really just allowing guidance to come through me, even though I didn't know really what the fuck I was doing, but it was always there, always there. And I think that we have a moral obligation to cultivate that not only in our children, but also in our friends and in our community, and remind them to extricate. I was talking about you got to extricate your attention from the matrix. You can't pay attention to the shit outside, and you can't pay attention to your reactivity here, or your reactivity and enacting and imposing your will onto another person. You have to control yourself. You have to up level your thoughts. You have to pay attention to the quality of your emotions. And you have to create. You have to actually spend the time quietly without distractions and really tune in to what is lighting up your heart, what is lighting up your soul. And I think we're just so meant to whirl around as spectators to, celebrity worship, the drama going on in politics, going on in our health, etc., and just really come back to, who and what we are.
Because what you're basically saying is what Bob Marley said, which is emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yes.
Only yourselves can free your mind. And
Yes.
what it is, you've got to take responsibility for your whole life, the quality of
Yes.
your thoughts, your emotions,
Yeah.
who you spend your time with. There's all that sits with all of that. The other thing that is something to think about is the parents that can't spend their time with their children because they have to go out and work.
Mhm.
They've got bills to pay.
Yes.
They're really struggling. There might be single parent families that are trying their best to just make ends meet in a system at the moment that's destroyed the family unit.
Yes.
The way that men speak about women at the moment and women speak about men, there's a lot of trauma bonding relationships. There's so much going on with that. But the good thing on the other side of that is that there are communities coming together, there are women coming together, there are men coming together, and there are relationships outside of trauma bonding. And when you do find that, you'll just feel it. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get on each other's nerves, or because everyone's annoying, right? I mean, I am.
Yeah,
You?
I'm definitely annoying because I'm on this, and to be able to take a break and do other things. So luckily I'm a musician as well, and
Then what do you
that's been
play?
a thread throughout my life. So I play the guitar, I play the piano, I play the bass, I play the drums, I do it all. And I sing. And I was a dancer. So this was part of my fairy realm of escaping the matrix, so to speak, was to make beautiful music, to move my body, to be able to feel the movement of my body up against moving through the air and through this perception managed matrix. I mean, it was a delightful. And then at the same time, you talk about the infiltration of the powers that want to be. in publishing, in music, in sports, in school, I mean, just the whole thing. And you talk about the books that you read. I read the Gulag Archipelago. So when people tell me and I have family that escaped communism on both sides of my family. And so when I hear people and I hear their woke shit and I hear their alignment with communism and socialism, I'm just thinking, my mind is blown. I don't fucking understand it. It's
You know what
illogical.
blows mine? Do you know what blows my mind? When you've got all of these celebrities that have now fallen stars,
Yes.
and when they were on stage receiving their awards and, speaking to the masses, they would go on about whatever god was of their religion. That And now people are like, oh no, I can't watch that. I can't, have anything to do with those people. But yet these same people that won't have anything now to do with these celebrities are still talking about the same gods that they had on that stage. So my
Yes.
question is what is that God? And why are you still going that way? Why, if you're
Yeah.
going to research music, you're going to research medicine, research religion, and don't just look at all of
Yeah.
them. Look at
Yeah.
ancestral ways, look at every religion, because that's what I
Yes.
did. There were certain books and it said women should respect men. Bang, shut the book straight away. Because for
Hmm.
me, from a young age, it was all about equality. I need
Hmm.
balance of all
Yes.
things. Doesn't mean that I'm
Balance.
one or the other. Once there's a center, then that can work. I read ones that are very well known books, and I just thought this doesn't work for me because it wants to take your consciousness, just like anything in the media over
Hmm.
there. But there's
Yeah.
a lot going on in here. There's so
Yes.
much going on inside that wants an outlet, and the
Right.
outlet is you. We are that outlet, and we all have that individual
Yes.
message or just something within us. And most people, they know it sits there, but they don't know how to access that. And you
Yeah.
know what, guys? It's a lifelong journey.
It
It's not
is. It's
something
not
that
a
anybody can
one-off.
give to you. You can't
Yeah.
go to have a reading done and for somebody to say to you, right, this is what you are. These are
Yeah.
your past lives. This is who you've been. That's your job. This is something that you've really got to go within and figure out for
Indeed.
yourself.
That's so good. So, so good. And so I've essentially figured out a way over the years on how to work with this. So, my first interface with trauma-based mind control, other than my own, and other than, watching my stepchildren work out within themselves the sort of differences between what they were given versus where they are going.
Mhm.
Okay. So watching all of that, I've navigated in the 80s the sort of supermom bit where, I had a music thing. And then I also during the day, I sold insurance.
Mhm.
I was into math. I love I love probability and statistics, so I just kind of went with it. I have a background in astronomy and physics. So there was no way in the university that I was going to fit in. They didn't want you to talk about Tesla. They wanted you to talk about Edison. And I broke the rules, and little did I know that there was actually a troll in the lecture hall that was taking notes on me, and I was fired, which
Do you
is
know?
fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But it was very clear. It's like, I'm not going to follow the rules. I didn't know there were rules. I didn't even know I had an office. Okay. So when I went to the astronomy and physics department, I had a mailbox with my name on it with a bunch of shit. And certainly there was a curriculum. And that's what happens when you go to
Mhm.
a state university. There is a mandated curriculum of do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
I didn't know that because nobody told me. I just showed up to my classroom, and then when you're a mom and you're working and you got other shit going on, I don't have time to mess around. I'm
Especially
going
not
from
with that
here.
kind of nonsense. And
Yes.
when I was at college, I was studying psychology, sociology, and criminology, but I was working as a psychic then, and there was slight overlaps, not many, And
Hmm.
I had a question about psychology and psychic work. And they said to me that if you write that, we've got to let you go. And I was like,
What?
bye then. So I left. I didn't go back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I just thought, I can't, what, you're trying to put me into a box? Yeah,
Indeed.
it's
Yeah.
just not happening. So I just left that side of it. And I
Yeah.
find that I spoke to somebody the other day that is having a lot of problems in their life. And homeopathy, and you're another homeopathic sister, and I'm really grateful for that. It just
Yay.
talking to another person, it really is great. And she said that the methods of healing that she's chosen is psychiatry, and she's been in the same spot for 3 years. And I'm not saying that there's bad psychiatrists, I'm not saying
Hmm.
anything bad about
Hmm.
it. But for me,
Yeah.
I said to her that whatever it is that you're working with, it's not working. So it's about finding, you want to be seeing changes within about 3 months. And
Yes.
some of these professions that have got degrees with them, I
Yes.
also have kind of question marks with as well as to who created that curriculum and to what end.
Exactly. It is mandated and it is boxed. It's locked and done. There is no interface. And that is really, really unfortunate. And one of my earliest collaborations when I, really got into my work, was with a brilliant psychiatrist who worked at one of the mental facilities. I knew his wife. And his wife was one of those suburban housewives who dabbled in new agey stuff. And back in the mid 80s, the whole new agey stuff, channeled materials, messages from Michael, the Seth material, etc. Well, she told me, she says, my husband is like really struggling. And I don't know, but I think you should connect. So I went over there, had dinner, and he invited me. He said, there are so many disturbed patients. They're locked in schizophrenics. We're giving them psychotropic meds. We're just dumbing them down. And I think there's a lot more going on. And I was like, oh my. So what ended up happening, and this was a ruse because he would sneak me in. I would just, be all dressed down, looking like I was in, yeah, I wasn't quite myself because he was sneaking me in and I had a fake ID posing as a doctor. I could probably get arrested for it. But I started working with some of these long-term patients whose families just lock them up. We're just going to lock up grandma, grandpa, whatever. And what was going on is that these people were inundated with lower astral plane entities.
If that, absolutely.
It was frightening. It was frightening. And then it didn't last for very long. It lasted long enough to get me to realize, oh my gosh, the criminality of the mental health care system. I mean, we're talking throughout the world because I've interfaced with some in the UK, Eastern Europe. I mean, there's some frightening things going on where these people are not only are they abused and neglected, but they are being experimented on. It's just disgusting what we do. And so that reality, and this man was so heartbroken by the medical system, by the psychiatric system. Yeah, after we kind of got caught, somebody narked on us, and it was the end. And he withdrew, was depressed, retired, and didn't really speak again. And I
What,
couldn't
when
reach him.
was this? When was
This
this?
was
Yeah,
probably 1980, I want to say 85, 6, 7.
because they were really only just really scratching the surface back then. And for
Yeah.
me, see a lot of people that have got mental health issues of those
Mhm.
eras, they
Yeah.
were real geniuses, they were intelligent. Take out all of the stuff that they were
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
them, because after
Yeah.
that, whatever meds they were given was probably a frequency match for some kind of entity or something that sat with
Mhm.
them.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But
Indeed.
I
And
feel that
walking in and
these,
out of the veils
yeah,
with no language and no support to share it. Well, we're just going to sedate you
yeah,
now.
you're mad, you're crazy. But they
Yeah.
weren't. I remember seeing
Mm.
some work of a guy that wrote about different dimensions. When I saw his stuff, this is somebody that I want to meet. I want to talk to him, but he's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
So that side of it as well is, I would say, for those of you that are getting work done in whatever modality you're getting it, because not all
Hmm.
of us are going to work the same way. Some need talking therapy, some need herbs, some need lots of different things.
Hmm.
Try different things.
Yes.
Try different things, because some people, when they talk about their problems without having something to kind of work against it, like flower essences or whatever, all
Yes.
that it does is it awakens the monster again, but there's nowhere for those emotions to go.
Yes.
But for some it works. So again, find that the right way.
Yeah.
Now, some of the topics on your website that I had a look at, the genocracy. So the malignant feminine cult
Yes.
hiding behind fake feminism
Yes.
and yes men. Go a bit more into that, please, for us.
Okay. So one of the things that I discovered for myself was when I started university, and I checked off a lot of boxes during that time. And it was in the mid 70s where the whole affirmative action, that whole woke thing where we're going to give minorities a head start because they're just saying you're stupid and this is what we need to do. We need quotas. Well, I checked off a lot of boxes because I'm an immigrant, learned to speak English and brown skin, Eurasian mix, whatever. And I just happened to be a math whiz, that kind of thing. So I got invited to participate in the women's studies program. It was the first at this very liberal state university in San Francisco. And what ended up happening is that I was listening to these women going, oh, they were pandering to me. They were basically saying, oh, how awful that, that you're so small, that you're so delicate, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I have two black belts right now. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I was a martial artist, very young, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then the whole thing about women in sciences, I realized, oh, okay, these were middle-aged white women who were unhappy in their lives, unhappy in their marriages. And I know it might offend people, and you know what? Keep it in check, okay? Get some help. And their marriages had failed, and now they're lesbians. Okay, I don't have anything against lesbians. Okay, I've gone there. All right, it's okay. It's okay. We do what we do to discover who we truly are. But my point is that they were really pushing the narrative that I've experienced racism and sexism, and poor me. And I was just perplexed one time, just sitting there going, um, I've never experienced racism. And they were looking at me, they were gobsmacked. Like I had three heads. Well, what do you mean? We're in the middle of Vietnam. There's a lot, and I've not experienced racism. I mean, I've had racial slurs thrown at me because we Asians look alike. But full on racism and sexism? No, no, I haven't. So I wasn't buying it. But what I saw was a slow trickle down infiltration of mind controlling women to maintain that they are victims and fuck men. We're going to fuck their shit up. We're going to castrate them. We're going to do this and we're going to be better than men. We're not just equal to them. We're fucking better. We're morally superior, you know? And then, so that was the second wave. And then the third wave and the fourth wave of, well, fuck that. We don't want to have children. Motherhood, pregnancy, that is fucking slavery. Okay. We don't want kids. And unfortunately, the shit stems have played into all those arenas to really elevate victim consciousness elevate the breakdown of the nuclear family, elevate the war of the sexes. And who is at the helm of these organizations? Men? No, women.
Yeah.
Women who have not dealt with daddy issues, mommy issues, their own authority issues. They're still polarized in their masculine and feminine, okay? And they haven't worked it out. And so I started looking at this historically. I'm like going, where's all this rage coming from? And I had to own it within myself because I was going, all right, there's some triggers here. And one of the things that we have to realize as humans is that there is a collective consciousness, pain body, thank you, Eckhart Tolle, of that terminology, because it's very, very helpful. But there is a historical pain body that we humans carry throughout the millennia. And unfortunately, what happens in a lot of propaganda, and you know this with mind control, is that there are these atavistic triggers that will trigger these cellular memories of all the injustices, of all the atrocities we humans have made, and we
that comes up
we
there,
have been sort of mind controlled into believing that it's men doing this. No, it is not.
Yeah. Don't
Women.
you find that within like even certain spiritual circles that it's really difficult to have female friends without all of that? You see, with me, Marja, if I've got a problem, I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you what my problem is, and we're going to have a conversation, and it's
Yes.
done. That's it.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
the other thing? We can have different opinions about something, and guess
Yes.
what? We're still friends because that's
Yes.
okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Again,
how
I
I feel
think,
about it too.
yeah, I'll just say it as it is. Just like, but I'm a fire sign. I've got to get it out. And
Yeah.
once it's out, we're cool. We're good. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to be offended because if you're my true friend and I've done something to hurt you, please tell me what I've done so that
Yes.
I can have a bigger understanding of how
Yes.
we can make this work, okay?
Yes.
Or what it is that maybe I need to review about your sensitivities because your words are valid, okay? And I want to respect that about you so that I know in the future to do things differently. Yeah.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
so that we can
Yeah.
maintain
It's
it's
called
not,
evolution.
yeah, it's not acquiescing and being beaten down by somebody to be what they want you to
Yes.
be. It's
Yeah.
more about a kind of, it's an understanding that sits there. And I still feel that with it, that even women, though women are at the helm and you've got the men at the helm of whatever it is that they're going
Yes.
through,
Yeah.
it's still that small nucleus of the trans families, as you said. So is it the
Yes.
transatlantic families
Yeah.
that caused all of this to happen because they want us to hate each other?
Yeah.
And going back to racism, I've never really experienced racism. And do you know why? Because I've never looked for it.
Yeah.
I've never, I've never thought about it. I've
Exactly.
like, I'm born here. I have ancestors from everywhere, and that's okay. So
Yeah.
for me, I don't advocate for the black side, or white side, and Asian side, and Amerindian. I don't advocate for any of it. Why?
Yeah.
Why would I when all of them have a center? All of
Yeah.
them have a central point
It's
within.
very
Yeah.
weird.
It's
I
just,
thought it was weird. Like
yeah.
it's funny because I had to apply for Medicare because I'm of that age. And so here I am, I'm with the agent and we're doing it remotely and she's screen sharing and I'm looking at this going, what the fuck? And it's got all the little categories of who you are. And I'm looking down, I scroll down, I go, oh, thank God, I checked it. I don't care to reveal that. Thank you very much. It's none of your fucking business, you know?
Exactly.
Then
Yeah.
they had a whole thing of pronouns, and I'm like going, I give out. This is everywhere.
I know.
It's like on forms and shit, It's like, this is not good. It's just
Daughter and
that,
we were
I,
talking about this over dinner last night, and her friend came over as well. And they were like, Mum, like, my daughter's 22. And she was like, Mum, what is this? And I'm like, I don't know. That's your generation, darling. That's your problem. And she was like, no, you can't say that. And she said that there's people at work and you have to be politically correct because if you don't, you'll lose your job. But what is it
yes,
doing? It's pushing both of those two to creativity because
yeah,
what they're saying is actually, we've tried that. It didn't really work for us. So we're going to figure out what it
Yeah.
is that we're like doing, because now that we know what that feels like, we want to
Yeah.
go that way,
Yeah.
and it's just creating a whole new
Yeah.
different energy. And we're going to come to the masculine feminine 101. You've touched on this a bit. The
Yes.
war of the sexes and the divide and conquer mind
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
programs. And again, it wants us, they
Yeah.
want women to hate men and men to hate women. And I don't, because I think both are great
Yeah.
and I like both of them.
Yeah. Me as well. Me as well. And that agenda is, in essence, it creates the culling and a table of feasting for the powers that want to be. We have to remember these beings, they are demons, they are entities. They need to be fed our creativity, and we need to do it willingly.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about it, they figured it out because they know psychology. They know the ins and outs of natural law. I recommend that everybody read the Satanic Bible because you talk about it's a very powerful book. There's nothing evil about it. It
Max
really
Law.
is pushing a sort of egocentric way of looking at the world, the universe, from your perspective of you being able to get over on everybody because it is your right. And it was just like, I'm reading this going, for some reason, I was expecting some kind of like cloak and dagger kind of thing. And
Rituals and,
yeah.
yeah,
And then
abduction.
I
Yeah.
realized so many of our animals have been like sort of co-opted, if you will, for really really
Mm.
naughty things. I have Capricorn rising, so I have a thing about rams. I've got a thing about the horned gods and all that kind of stuff. I've got Lord Cappy by my side. I just love, and people get on my case. They go insane because they're mind controlled to believe that this is evil. It's ridiculous.
But the
People
thing
need to
is with
calm the
that
fuck down.
is if you can read one side, I'm a Libra rising, so it always comes back to that.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Read the other side. So if they've told you on this side in this book that that's evil, then
Yes.
read it
Yeah.
and make your own opinion. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're not
Exactly.
going
You gotta
to,
bring the poles
yeah,
together and
together.
meet them.
Yeah.
And
And
that
that's
is
it.
that is the balancing point.
And
And
make an informed consent on
yeah,
your own interpretation from a spiritual perspective,
yeah,
rather than through an indoctrinated one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what I feel with regards to that. And you've got the trauma-based mind control. So you've worked with people that have been through that, and there's a lot more than people
yeah,
think, you
yeah,
know? And
yeah.
you said via the 3 trauma cages, could you go into a bit of that?
Yes, yes. So what I love about the three trauma cages, and these came to me in a dream because I have such a diverse background of training. I studied five element Chinese medicine, not to become an acupuncture, but I wanted to understand the creation cycle, the destruction cycle. I want to understand that. I want to understand this. I studied Ayurvedic. I studied homeopathy through the British Institute of Homeopathy back in the 90s. Why? Because when I was living in Europe, I I gained so much healing. I felt like I was restored to my optimum by working with a homeopath who like heard my story and understood this trajectory, like I had chronic pneumonia. Okay. So when I was
One
piecing,
point, find the right homeopath. When you find the right
yes,
homeopath, absolute game changer.
total game changer because she understood the mechanisms of an outside force having dominion over your entire system. So, I mean, when I looked, when I was trying to find my notes when I was under her care, um, because there was a trajectory of, you talk about balance, you talk about having no boundaries. I mean, I was just such a sponge. So,
What did
in
that for
terms of,
me? What was it? Turn the other cheek.
Ah,
indoctrinated when I was a kid, oh,
yes,
what they're going through. They might be going through a hard time. And now when I think about it, so was I because of them. And I never had no
exactly.
boundaries because
Exactly. No
turn the
boundary.
other cheek.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
a nightmare. Sorry, do
Yeah. Totally. So I went from, like, she started me off with phosphorus, the light bringer.
yeah,
And I was so into the sort of dichotomy between, the fallen angels and this and dealing with, I mean, just all of it. And, she was like going, no, 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 no. Think of it this way. You have so much light. They're just coming for you.
exactly. And that will happen. The higher you go up in
Yes.
frequency, the more
Yes.
the darkness
Yeah.
follows.
Yeah.
But then it's about balancing the darkness with the light to go
Indeed.
higher. And every
Indeed.
time you're touched by a bit of the darkness, you understand more about the light. And this is
Right.
why it's good about learning both
Right.
sides of the coin.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what was amazing about that is that I got to the point, and she was using LMs.
Yeah, so
Is
the liquid potencies.
Oh, they were very, very powerful because, and it only took one dose. And what happened, which was amazing. And I was going through, just a little bit of a rough period at the time. The kids were now teenagers. They decided they were going to live with the grandparents who were retiring over to South America. And I
Um,
was just like, what? And I was getting divorced. I was getting divorced. So what ended up happening is I woke up one morning and I looked at my hand, and I swear to God, Elona, I stuck my hand underneath and my skin literally came off, and all of my skin all over my body. It's like I shed it like
yeah.
a snake
Is that before or after you took the phosphorus or
after,
yeah. That remedy,
after,
you
like
can
within
get
10 days.
really high frequencies on that remedy, but I can't take it often because
Yeah.
it works when this is the thing. You had that experience. I've taken it, had a very different experience.
Yeah.
And it still showed us the light within ourselves, just in our own unique way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
was pretty amazing. And so from phosphorus, I went to platina, which was kind of
yeah.
amazing. And it was while I was on platina that I had the dream about the trauma cages. So, and it was an extension of not just the seven chakra system, it was the infiltration of mind control
Hmm.
from the powers that want to be and what they do when they cord. Okay. So the trauma cage, the head cage, okay, the mind cage, essentially, the cording of the seventh chakra, the third eye, and also here. So our cord, the cording here, the control center, this is control.
Hmm.
Complete control. Once the powers that want to be get in there, they can control your beliefs. They can control all of that. Your beliefs, who you give your authority to, your sovereignty is gone. It's completely gone. Your connection to the divine is completely severed. And then it works down here in the third eye. So the realm, I call it the realm of all possibilities known and yet to be known. All of that is you're completely blinded when they get in there. And then when they come into the throat chakra, they're essentially shoving their words down your throats. They're shutting you up, censoring you, editing you, making you say things that you don't mean, or just taking your voice away. And, one of the powerful words in our universe is the lost word of no. It's not being said
Tons. But
enough or correctly,
yeah.
in my opinion. Okay, so from there you've got the heart cage, because when our true nature, our heart, is hijacked by evil, is hijacked by willful ignorance or willful denial of who and what we already have our words hijacked, our truth, essentially, the fifth chakra, and then who we are as infinite loving awareness and consciousness having this human experience, you know, And our power center, the power center is the seat of the soul. It's our divine will to do what is right, even when we're under siege of absolute evil, to be able to choose that. So that's the heart cage, okay? And then the body cage is our power center, our second chakra, which is in charge of not just prosperity, but sexuality and sensuality and our creativity to use all of the elements around us, all of the materials of the planet in order to create something from formless to form. And then, of course, the first chakra, which is all about our survival. It's all about our environment. It's also about each one of us birthing those brilliant ideas from formless into form. And formless starts here at the seventh chakra. It's divine inspiration. And if the mind control gets you here and you're advocating to become a slave for the powers that want to be and completely lose your connection to your true divine nature, you're absolutely fucked.
And you know what?
There's no you anymore.
Couldn't have put it better myself. I like the way that you've literally just broken that down because there's so much food for thought. And one
Yeah.
thing I will add that I feel is a massive problem through learning, because you've learned lots of different sciences and ancient sciences, esoteric sciences. I've done the same thing as well. Another massive problem that I feel that we have got that I wrote about in my book, The Road to Sovereignty, is parasites, because they hold
Yes.
consciousness. And I
Yes.
often wonder if different parasites link back to different kind of entities.
Yes.
You've got the familial ones, you've got the
Yes.
generational ones, you've got the ones in nature.
Yeah.
That's another massive, massive problem. And
Yeah.
with everything being poisoned now, like the air, the food, the water,
Mhm.
everything, for me, it is going back to growing your own food. It is going back to medical sovereignty. It is
Indeed.
taking back control of everything that sits there. And if you look at that from a physical level, I've spoken about parasites on that level. You've spoken about things on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Bring them together.
The mind parasites, because
Yeah,
they will manifest
yeah,
materially. And that's what the entities are. These low vibrational, lower plane entities, they are essentially parasites and viruses, and they get in through the first order of our sovereignty, which is our auric field. So, in the work that I do, if you're going to address and doing the quote energy work, the trauma deactivation, de-armoring, you have to address it in the order of infiltration. And the first order of infiltration is the auric field. And so
viable.
New Age bullshit has absolutely hijacked the whole thing by saying, no, you can just clear the chakras. I mean, if somebody tells you, and they're a Reiki practitioner, that they can clear your trauma-based mind control by Reiki, fucking run. I'm sorry if that's offensive to some people, but you're being lied to. No, you have to get rid of the entities that are controlling your auric field and your energy field outside of your body. Will
And
you get
a
that
lot.
cleared?
Yeah,
Then you can address the chakra system. You can address the worms, the parasites that'll infiltrating all of the chakras. After you clear that, then you can clear the emotions. And after you clear the emotions, you can get to the beliefs and
yeah.
traumas.
The
And
thing
that's
is,
how it
once you
works.
clear the parasites, a lot of them are giving you the thoughts. Once they've gone, you
Indeed.
feel almost kind of empty because where there
Yes.
was space of all these thoughts that are not yours, there's stillness.
That is a brilliant
Yeah,
point. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
there
huge.
is.
And that is it's a powerful place to be, because it's like this blank canvas or this vessel of you for real, minus all the interference and all the hijacking and all the entities and energies that aren't you, don't belong to you, or never you to begin with. And that can be a tricky place. Some people really
Yeah,
embrace and they go to town, and other people,
because I
it's
always
another,
say,
it's traumatic.
I say to them that clearing, and this is personal, and even when I speak to my patients, clearing the trauma is one thing, But who are you without the trauma? And
Indeed.
that's the big one. Yeah.
That is the identitarian
Yep.
wokeness that is the mind virus that has infiltrated all these woke people who have weaponized their woundology. Me. You are offending me. Pay me, give me reparations, kiss my ass. You're making me feel unsafe. Buy me a house so I can feel safe. It's like this entitlement nonsense.
Yeah.
And here in America, yeah, I've got a dog park. I was just telling Gary Michael Vassy last week, and we were talking. I mean, it's so funny. I heard about the women shaving their heads. I heard about it, and then I saw it. I didn't even know, like, holy fuck, this is a thing.
It is.
This is a thing, and it's serious. And the spewing, the foaming at the mouth, and I think these ladies are going to hurt people.
They're already hurting themselves. And when
Yes.
I say, who am I without the trauma?
Mm-hmm.
Some people hold on to that stuff.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
becomes part of their identity.
Yes.
And you
It's
can either fill
righteous.
that with more emptiness so that you can become more clear, or you can
Mm-hmm.
fill that with more BS so that you then go back into a perpetuity system of pain.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that comes there. And then sexual abuse healing. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
43. And at my age, there's not many people from my generation that I know that haven't been sexually abused or gone through something of that kind of awful,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
There's not many people that I know that haven't
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sexual abuse is very powerful because it is a polarized, well, it's not polarized this way, it's polarized from high to low. It is the lowest common denominator. And at its highest order, its highest expression is the merging of two beings, masculine and feminine, into one.
Hmm.
Okay. So you have these polar opposites from the highest high to the lowest of the low. And because it's a low common denominator, the powers that want to be within the matrix have figured out that this is an arena that we can exploit and we can generate and harvest so much human creativity, the loosh, so to speak, and feast. Because what people have to understand, the powers that want to be, they can't leave the matrix. We can. We have the ability to waltz in and out of it, but we have to own our attention. I call it the center screen. The center screen is where we can be fully conscious and awake. Notice what the fuck is going on in the outer screen. Notice your reactivity here, all from the center screen, which is outside of the matrix. Okay. And this is where we are in charge of our thought quality, our emotional countenance, the actions that we take or don't take,
Yep.
and our goals, what it is that we are intending to do, and the openness to receive the guidance from outside of the matrix. But because the powers that want to be need us, they choose all the victim stuff. Sexuality is huge, 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 huge. It is a huge culling ground, culling reality for the powers that want to be,
From the
because
very young age all the way up to adult
indeed,
children
indeed,
that
it
they,
is nonstop food,
yeah, it
nonstop
is.
food
And
for
it is
these
that.
women.
It's food. It is. And energy is food for them.
Yeah.
So the sadder you are and the length of sadness that you are, something's feeding off of your energy. The
Mhm.
minute that you start going up in vibration, you're not so tasty anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. They don't want you. They
No.
want low-hanging fruit, which is
Yeah.
why the masses are so dumbed down. They're so dumbed down. They're just spectators. They're just, yeah, whatever. You know, I just, I don't relate to it. I'm all for, I am here for the renaissance of human creativity. I
And
really
this
believe
bit's
it. And I
fun.
love
Yeah.
all of the tools, the homeopathy, the flower essences, the aromatherapy, the herbs, the spices, the good food, the creativity.
Ayurveda, TCM, acupuncture, cranial sacral therapy. We
Yes,
could just keep going on. There's
yes,
so much
yes,
outside what we've been given. Find it, So that sits
yes.
there. We've
Yeah.
spoken a bit on shadow work, pains, trauma, suffering, any energetic or physical parasites really being an
Hmm.
energetic point for them to come in because unhealed emotions and trauma is food. Clear that
Yes.
up, they have to leave.
Yeah.
So the energetic kung fu mastery is about psychic self-defense, psychic
Yes.
firewall, as Thomas would
Yes.
call it.
Yes. So I teach the exact precise uh, ways to interface in your auric field, your chakras, your meridians. So my trauma deactivation and de-armoring is meridian based. And in order to get there, you need to address the auric field, the demons, the entities in your field, the chakra system, all of that. You need to do it. And and not one size does not fit all. I mean, I have clients and students that want to do the journaling work, and I have other clients and students that will tell me to just, unequivocally fuck off with that. I'm not doing it. It's like, okay, all right, you're not going to do it. Good. But there are other things to do, there are other things to do. We have lots of tools available, lots of practitioners available, and I'm one of these people. I just share everything, because number one, it's not mine to begin with. I am a I'm a caretaker,
Hmm.
essentially. That's all.
No, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
then touched on the new age bullshit. And I think a lot of people at the moment, I got caught up in some of that along the early part of my journey because when you don't have ancestral ways to walk, or you were lucky,
Mhm.
Japanese people. I spoke to a Japanese woman today that I'm treating homeopathically, and you know what? She's a breath of fresh air. And why do I say that? Because they're connected to the ancestors, and she's really calm. She loves her cat. When you just look at somebody
Yeah.
and ball of love, and then you're like,
Yeah.
yeah. Then you
Yeah.
just know that when she starts working with homeopathy in her own way, she's just going to have even more love. And
It's a
that side of
beautiful
it,
thing.
I really love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, the new age stuff, it is a trap. The woke stuff is a nightmare. Okay. I think a lot of people that are doing woke things are going to regret that. Woke is not awake because awake is now, woke is that you've been asleep.
Yes.
Um, and you're going to meet people on your journey that are in the new age kind of way of doing things, and all these people are going to teach you is who you are not until you then start meeting the others,
Indeed.
yeah,
Well
that you can work
stated.
with, and then they find their message and then they start teaching. Some will start teaching in
And
others won't.
and that is a beautiful thing. That is exactly what is needed. So, I'm one of those people. I love supporting everybody's work because it's going to take all of us together in concert with one another in order to support the renaissance of human creativity
Hmm.
and our divinity. That's all there's to it because the time is so accelerated, and my whole thing has always been, and this is where a lot of folks kind of get annoyed with me because I have seen over my life, I see reincarnation and the wheel of karma as a trap to keep us here, to keep us reincarnating again and again and again for these motherfuckers who have been
Can
in
you say that
charge
bit
of
again?
this reality, quote unquote.
Could you
I
say that
believe
bit again? I'm going to
that
cut that bit
yes,
because it just froze. So can
yeah,
you say that again? So you believe that the wheel.
the wheel of karma and reincarnation, I believe they are traps to keep us in the matrix reality so that we can keep providing food, energy, our lives, our sovereignty to the powers that want to be. They can't leave. We can. And we have to find the opening to really move out of this matrix reality, which I believe is a closed system. And the true quantum field creation field system, that real reality, is beyond this matrix reality.
Can I ask you, do you
Yes.
think at any point in time that we actually lived in a harmonious situation as a
Yes.
collective of humans?
Yes, I do. I do. And I think that is why we do what we do. That is why we are endeavoring to find the truth, live the truth, extricate ourselves from this, warring bullshit. It's like, I don't believe in that polarity, and I'm going to further say this, because I've been thinking about it a lot. There are many different species that have been discovered that are hermaphrodites. And I really believe that once upon a time, we humans were hermaphrodites. And I'm not saying that in a woke sense or a freakish sense. I'm looking at it from a perspective of, if you're going to enslave an entire bunch of beings, souls, what is the way to do it? You divide them into masculine and feminine. You get them to hate each other. You get them to war each other. You get them to distort what that is, and you win. You win. There's no way out. And you're just going to keep creating things. And now we've got AI and the threat of having our consciousness uploaded onto a Starlink platform. It's like, fuck me. I'm just like, no.
But you know what, though, right?
Not. I'm going to escape this matrix some way, somehow.
I believe, though, that we must be so powerful, because why go to all that trouble? Yeah? Why go to all that trouble with all these systems, with all these religions, with all these different things to break us down?
Yeah.
Because we are powerful enough. And I don't think it would take a lot to get to that point. I think that it would take a few to reach a certain frequency, and then the others can tune into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about raising. And like you said, these platforms, the work that people are doing, and it takes a lot, because not everybody likes what we're doing. Not everybody likes what we have to say. That's
not
fine.
Everybody likes me.
Yeah. Well, oh well. No, poor them. This is it. So what I will say is, we're going to end this now, is that Marja has also written a book. Can you give us the title of your book, please? Because I think it's brilliant.
So my book is called Effed Wide Open, The Rude Awakening of the Heart-Based New Humanity. And so I've got two versions of it. I'm working on a third one because I started writing the first version 20 years ago. And then it took 10 years to publish the first version. The second version came out in 2018. And here it is, 2024 going into 2025. And I was fucking wrong on so many things in that book. And I have to come clean before my last breath. So that's what I'm working on. There were some premises that I just, this is it, and ta-da! No, it's not true. So I've been bested by the evolution of consciousness, and so that is, that's kind of
that
the deal.
For me is what I call leveling up, because there were some things that I had written in my book that now I don't agree with, and I undid them, and the right copy's out now, which could be found.
Cool.
But it's a process. Writing blows you open.
It does.
What Marja's just taught you is that you live forwards, but you learn in reverse. So you'll learn stuff that you agree with at that point, and then you'll unlearn it as your truths from within you grow. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And where can people find you, Marja? Where's your website details and what?
So my website is, you can do MarjaWest.com. Or you can do Love, Truth, and andbeauty.com. My YouTube channel, Love, Truth, and Beauty, is around, and you can find me on the Facebook. And I'm actually very friendly. I'm not mean. I'm a bit of a snarky smartass, but that's okay. We need good humor to
Satire.
get through some of this, and that's what I appreciate about our various tribes is that
Yeah.
we all have fantastic humor. Some people get offended. It's like whatever, you know.
None given. It is what
Yeah,
it is. Sorry about that. Go work with. But and then YouTube we've done, and you've also got your Substack that'll be up and running.
yeah.
And
I'm gonna finally start that up.
yeah,
It's taken a while. It's taken a while to do
doing
that.
like a million and one things. Okay, so it's all good. We
Yeah,
still love you.
yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on the Arcane Mystic
Thank you
today.
so
That
much.
was a powerful, powerful conversation. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you,
Thank you
Lona.
for coming on.
You're
And this will be the end of this submission for today. Please do subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Mr. Media for all of the studio work and everything that you do for me. And until next time, bye bye.
Bye bye.